What it's like to live with imposter syndrome. They say that success is its own reward. We work hard for our accomplishments. When we achieve something great, it's only natural to feel at least a little bit proud of yourself for making it this far. But for some, no matter how much they accomplish, the feeling of pride and satisfaction never comes. In their minds, they can never convince themselves that what they have achieved was truly earned, leaving them to believe their lives are just one big hoax, waiting to unravel and be revealed to their friends, colleagues, and loved ones. This is what it's like to live with imposter syndrome. Before we get any further, you should click on the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. That way, you can stay up to date on all of our bestie daily videos and content. In an article written for Psychology Today, Megan Dalla Camina defines imposter syndrome as a psychological phenomenon in which people are unable to internalize their accomplishments. In other words, people with imposter syndrome feel as though they don't deserve any of the success they have achieved in life. They convince themselves that none of their achievements hold any real weight, that they're secretly frauds, and one day everyone will know the truth, or at least what they believe to be the truth. Imagine attending a job interview for a very important position within a company. A few days later, you receive a call from the employer telling you that you've got the job, and they want you to start immediately. Most people would react to this news with excitement and pride, being able to take satisfaction in the fact that their skills and experience were able to bring them to this opportunity. For someone with imposter syndrome, however, they might react instead with doubt and excuses. I guess they must have been desperate. They might think to themselves, why else would they want someone as unqualified as me? What'll happen when they find out that I'm not the right candidate for this job at all? In reality, this most likely isn't the case at all. However, people who struggle with imposter syndrome are often unable to view their own strengths and skills at face value, and as a result, have a hard time internalizing and justifying the success they've achieved through them. The term imposter syndrome was first coined in 1978 by psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. While not classified as an actual disorder, imposter syndrome is a state of mind that affects many individuals. While early research primarily focused on successful women who struggled with imposter syndrome, the condition appeared to be equally common in both women as well as men. Imposter syndrome can occur as a result of a number of different situations and factors, and can usually be characterized by things such as perfectionism, fear of failure, and a tendency to undermine or understate one's achievements. If left unchecked, imposter syndrome can be a contributing factor towards other mental health issues, such as anxiety, low confidence or self-esteem, and depression. The most debilitating factor, according to Dalla Camina, is that imposter syndrome can limit our willingness to take chances outside of our comfort zones and seek out new opportunities and experiences. After all, if you can only view yourself as a fraud or a failure, that'll most likely impair your confidence when it comes to putting yourself out there. Fortunately, there are ways in which you can fight off imposter syndrome and feelings of self-doubt or skepticism that come with it. In another article, psychologist Ellen Hendrickson writes on many different ways you can combat your feelings that stem from imposter syndrome. The first thing she suggests is to accept that these feelings are normal, as well as more common than you might think. Without letting it get to your head, remind yourself of everything you've worked for and accomplished in order to make it this far. You may even want to write it down somewhere so you can read it over and over in times of doubt. Tell a trusted friend or colleague how you're feeling, or even seek out a more seasoned and senior mentor who can provide you with guidance on your situation. Or you might even choose to become a mentor yourself by putting yourself in a position where you can teach others. Hendrickson writes that you'll be surprised how much you know. At the end of the day, it's also important to remember that it's okay not to know what you're doing and to always remain enthusiastic about learning new things. Hendrickson also writes on how you can avoid cultivating a sense of imposter syndrome in others, specifically in children. According to her article, a common mistake parents make is showering their children with relatively hollow praise, telling them things like, "You're so smart." Well, this might seem like positive reinforcement, it can actually prove to be harmful, as it might unintentionally apply to the child that there's nowhere left to grow, or that being smart is simply something you either have or you don't. Instead of praising children for their traits and qualities, Hendrickson instead suggests that you praise them for their effort that they put in to develop those traits. Instead of telling your child you're so smart when they get all A's on their report card, instead, consider saying, "You worked so hard to get those grades," or "Good job for remembering to do your homework." Additionally, another thing to consider when living with imposter syndrome is that failure is a normal part of life. Every best-selling novel had a rough first draft. Every person who learned to ride a bike fell off on their first try. In short, you have to do bad before you can do good. If you don't immediately stick the landing on the first attempt, don't let that initial failure discourage you. Instead, continue to practice, develop, and hone your skills. When living with imposter syndrome, it can be hard to convince yourself that your success and accomplishments have any real merit. And like most mental health issues, reminding yourself that it's all in your head usually isn't enough to fix the problem on its own. But by taking an objective approach to how you view yourself and your achievements, you can train your mind in a way that lets you view your successes in life as more than mere happenstance or fraud, and hopefully give yourself a much-needed boost in self-confidence as well. Was this article helpful for you? Are you someone who currently struggles with imposter syndrome? And do you feel comfortable sharing your experiences with others? If so, we'd like to recommend that you leave a comment below in order to keep the conversation going. Sometimes, the first step towards recovery and improvement is finding relief in the realization that you're not alone.
Enjoyed this video? Hit the like button and share with your friends. Also, subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.